Have you ever wondered how a man from an ordinary background rose to become one of history's most infamous dictators? Let's delve into the early life of Adolf Hitler, a name that continues to evoke strong emotions, even in the 21st century. Born in the small town of Braunau am Inn in Austria-Hungary on the 20th of April in 1889, Hitler's beginnings were as unassuming as they come. His early life was spent near Linz, an idyllic city on the banks of the Danube River, far removed from the political turmoil that would later define his life. As a young man, Hitler moved to Vienna, the heart of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The early 20th century was a time of change and unrest in the city, and it was here that Hitler first began to develop his political ideologies. Yet at the time, he was just another face in the crowd, an aspiring artist struggling to make a living. In 1913, Hitler relocated to Germany, a move that would set the stage for his future rise to power. He enlisted in the German army at the outbreak of World War I and served with distinction. This was a pivotal time in Hitler's life as the war reinforced his fierce nationalism and introduced him to the power of propaganda. Hitler's service in the war earned him not just medals but also the respect and admiration of his fellow soldiers. This decorated war veteran, however, was not content with just military honors. He had developed a taste for politics, and his ambitions were beginning to take shape. So here we have Adolf Hitler at the end of World War I, a decorated soldier with a growing interest in politics. But little did the world know, this was just the beginning. The man who had once been a struggling artist and a war veteran was about to embark on a path that would forever change the course of history. A decorated war veteran, Hitler was just beginning his political journey. From war hero to political leader, how did Hitler climb the ranks? A story of ambition, charisma, and a keen understanding of the public sentiment, Hitler's political emergence was a dramatic chapter in his life. In the aftermath of World War I, Germany was a country in turmoil. The Treaty of Versailles had left the nation bruised and humiliated. Amidst this chaos, Hitler, a decorated war veteran, sought to channel the public's frustration towards a new cause. In 1919, he joined the German Workers' Party, an organization that would later evolve into the notorious Nazi Party. Hitler's charisma and his gift for public speaking quickly caught the attention of the party's top brass. By 1921, he was appointed the leader of the Nazi Party. Hitler's speeches, filled with nationalistic fervor and anti-Semitic rhetoric, resonated with a public yearning for change and restoration of national pride. However, his first attempt at seizing power ended in a fiasco. In 1923, Hitler and his followers attempted a coup in Munich known as the Beer Hall Putsch. The coup failed, and Hitler was arrested and sentenced to prison for 5 years. But this setback would only serve to fuel his ambition. In the confines of his prison cell, Hitler began to pen his autobiography and political manifesto, Mein Kampf, which translates to My Struggle. This book laid out his vision for Germany, a vision steeped in anti-Semitism and the belief in the racial superiority of the Aryan race. Hitler's time in prison became a period of introspection and strategic planning, allowing him to refine his political ideology and tactics. Upon his early release in 1924, Hitler was more determined than ever to rise to power. In prison, Hitler began writing Mein Kampf, a book that would become the ideological blueprint for his rise to power. Little did the world know then how this book would shape the course of history in the years to come. How did Hitler, a man once imprisoned for treason, rise to the position of chancellor? After serving a shortened sentence for his failed coup attempt, Hitler emerged from prison with a new strategy. Instead of attempting to overthrow the government by force, he decided to dismantle it from within. His weapon of choice? Charismatic oratory and Nazi propaganda. Hitler capitalized on the public's discontent with the Treaty of Versailles, a peace agreement that many Germans felt was unjust. He stoked the flames of nationalism with his promotion of pan-Germanism, championing the unification of all German-speaking peoples under one banner. Meanwhile, he vilified Jews and communists, blaming them for Germany's economic woes and societal ills. By the end of 1932, the Nazi Party held the most seats in the Reichstag, Germany's parliament. However, they were still short of a majority. The political landscape was fractured, with no party able to form a coalition strong enough to put forth a chancellor. This political stalemate paved the way for Hitler's ascension. Former Chancellor Franz von Papen and other conservative leaders, believing they could control Hitler, persuaded President Paul von Hindenburg to appoint him as Chancellor. On the 30th of January 1933, Hindenburg gave in to their urgings. But Hitler was far from the puppet these conservative leaders had hoped for. Just months into his chancellorship, the Reichstag passed the Enabling Act of 1933. This legislation effectively dismantled the democratic Weimar Republic, granting Hitler the power to pass laws without parliamentary approval. It marked the beginning of a totalitarian regime, where all authority was concentrated in Hitler's hands. With the passing of the Enabling Act of 1933, the transformation of the Weimar Republic into Nazi Germany had begun. What changes did Germany undergo under Hitler's rule? It is a question that echoes through the corridors of history, resonating with tales of terror, genocide, and war. Once Hitler assumed the mantle of chancellor in early 1933, the transformation of Germany into a one-party dictatorship began in earnest. This shift was facilitated by the Enabling Act of the same year, which effectively dissolved the democratic Weimar Republic and birthed Nazi Germany. The nation was now under the totalitarian and autocratic ideology of Nazism, a dark cloud that would hover over the world for over a decade. Hitler's reign was one of calculated tyranny. He pursued an aggressive foreign policy, primarily focused on creating Lebensraum, or living space, for the German people in Eastern Europe. This pursuit was one of the primary causes of the outbreak of World War II. Hitler's insatiable desire for territorial expansion led to the invasion of Poland on the 1st of September 1939, an act of aggression that would eventually draw Britain and France into declaring war on Germany. Inside the borders of Germany, Hitler was orchestrating a horrific genocide. His aim was to eliminate Jews from Germany, a chilling mission that resulted in the Holocaust. Approximately 6 million Jews and millions of other victims were systematically murdered under Hitler's rule. This unspeakable horror remains one of the gravest atrocities in human history. Throughout his reign, Hitler's policies were characterized by a ruthless disregard for human rights, a fierce pursuit of power, and a chilling vision of racial purity. His actions plunged the world into a global conflict and led to the deaths of millions. Hitler's reign was marked by terror, genocide, and war, a reign of terror that left an indelible mark on the pages of history. A reign that serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked power and the importance of defending human rights and democracy. How did the reign of one of history's most infamous dictators come to an end? This is the question we'll explore in this final segment. As we move into the early 40s, Hitler's territorial acquisitions start to crumble. The German forces, initially unstoppable, begin to meet resistance. After 1941, the tables turn. The Allied forces, a formidable coalition of countries united against Hitler's reign, begin to reclaim territories. The German army, once thought invincible, faces defeat after defeat. While the world is at war, Hitler's personal life takes a dramatic turn. In the confines of the Führerbunker in Berlin, he marries Eva Braun, his long-term partner. Their marriage, however, is not a celebration of love, but a prelude to a tragic end. As the Allied forces close in, Hitler and Braun make a decision that echoes the desperation and despair of the crumbling Third Reich. They choose death over capture. In a final act of defiance, they commit suicide, marking the end of Hitler's reign. The dictator who had once held most of Europe in his grasp meets a grim end in a bunker. But the end of Hitler's life does not mean the end of his impact. His policies, his actions, and his reign have left an indelible mark on history. His rise to power, the terror he unleashed during his dictatorship, and his dramatic fall all serve as a reminder of the darkness that can emerge when power is unchecked. We've journeyed through Hitler's life from his early days to his entry into politics, his rise to power as the leader of the Nazi Party, and his actions as chancellor that led to World War II. We've also seen his fall from power and his eventual suicide. Each chapter of his life provides us with lessons, warnings, and reflections. Hitler's life and reign ended as dramatically as it had unfolded, leaving an indelible mark on history.